So here we are, once again, on our way to Jumptown with the members of Scum. And we're running a bit of a wagon train of ships back and forth to Jumptown to make some credits. And, this is just an evolution exploration of different strategies, different ways of going about it. One person does Overwatch, the other person goes in and buys, and then the person who does Overwatch goes, takes their goods, sells it, then the next person takes over Overwatch, and it becomes kind of like a cycle. And, that's one way to handle the challenge of Jumptown. That's one strategy amongst a myriad of strategies. It's not griefing, right? But I figured, what, for fun's sake, let's talk about actual griefing in Star Citizen. Now, what is actual griefing, right? Let's tackle that first. What is griefing? Griefing is preventing other players from being able to play the game, right? Now, automatically you go, well, I want to go to Jumptown. You're preventing that, so you're griefing me. Clearly, no. You are not guaranteed access to Jumptown. Jumptown is a risk that you have agreed to take on. This isn't Olisar. This isn't Arcorp Mining. This isn't Shubin. This isn't Lorville. This is Jumptown. It's not even on the map. You have to seek it out. This is an open world PvP area. This is a drug lab. This is a place where players come into conflict all the time. And you just went down there as a tourist, like, oh, this will be fun. This will be interesting. Oh my God, I was shot. What griefers? Obviously, when you're kind of making that argument, really, be honest. But what is actual griefing? Let me give you an example. Because I made a video about this a couple of years ago, where I kind of, took CIG on to a certain degree. And what I did is, this was back in the 2.0 series of patches. I just started walking on other players' ships. And as soon as, they would fly out of Olisar, I just pull out a gun and shoot them. And I made that video. I posted that video. And I was sitting there saying, how is this allowed? How is this even possible in the game? And there were people who watched that video who saw perhaps only a few moments or a few select moments of it and were like, oh my God, you're such a griefer, you're so mean. Didn't watch the entire video when I'm like kind of sitting there going, CIG, how have you allowed this? How is this like a rule in the game? This should be one of the first things that you take on, that just nobody can walk onto anybody else's ship. This used to be a real bad problem back in the day, where other players could just, like, if someone spawned a ship, other players could just walk out onto the landing pads and just climb into your ship and fly away with it, and there was no penalty. That was a legitimate thing that existed in the 2.0 series of patches. Now, since then, we have gotten the locking mechanism, right? So, okay, problem solved. No, not even remotely, because many ships have ramps, many ships have elevators, and anybody can use these to access your ship. As soon as you open the door for yourself, you open the door to other players. Say, oh, well, you're letting them on your ship. You're choosing to. No, all someone has to do is linger around the door at the landing pad. And that alone can prevent you from getting in your ship, because you realize as soon as you open that door, that person just rabbits onto your ship and then just starts running around all over the place. And this is something that CIG continuously allows. And to me, I feel that it's something that should have been tackled in a much more meaningful way, but never was. And now you've got this random person that you don't know who the hell they are and what their intentions are. Some of them are just legitimately clowns, and they're morons, and they think that, oh, everyone's going to be friends in the Star Citizen universe, and I should just be able to walk onto anybody's ship. Oh, look at all these buttons. Look at all these chairs. Oh, how fascinating. And in their messed up world, that they think that that's okay, that they can just walk in to anybody else's, basically their personal space within the Star Citizen universe, and just start touching everything, just wandering around. And that in and of itself is annoying enough to, to warrant a bullet to the head. But beyond that, there are the players who are on there for malicious reasons. And think about it. You go to an armistice zone, someone else wanders onto your ship when you open the door to get onto your ship to go and play the game. The only way that you can forcibly get that player off your ship now is to fly your ship out of the armistice zone, get out of the pilot seat, pull out a gun, and then shoot that player. But at the same time, since you're outside of the armistice zone, they can be waiting there for you, cocked and locked, and as soon as you get out of the pilot seat, they can shoot you. Or they can shoot you while you're even still in the pilot seat. Right? What Star Citizen should have to prevent this form of griefing is kind of a two-tier armistice zone. Let's say you're parked at Olisar, and you're in your freelancer, in this case. And you open up the door to your freelancer, and you decide to get in, but there's somebody else at the landing site who is just sitting there waiting to run onto someone else's ship. For whatever reason, good or bad, or not really good. Let's say stupid or bad. And they just run onto your ship and they just start running around. Look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm running around on your ship. Then once you pass into the confines of that other player's ship, you enter into a different kind of armistice zone. You still have the rules of the armistice zone applied to you as the, trespasser on that ship. You're still technically under the Olisar rules. However, the player who owns that ship is now under a different set of rules within the confines of your own ship. You are allowed to draw and discharge a firearm because you are now no longer technically in the Olisar armistice zone. You are now within your own private space within that zone. You are in a separate legal instance, so to speak. I believe there's a few real-world laws that kind of state something similar. We'll leave that to the legal experts out there. But let's say you walk onto someone else's ship, right? Then under those armistice rules, you would then be classified as a trespasser unless you are partied up with the ship owner, the person who is actually piloting the ship. Unless you have that, that protection extended to you through the party system, then you are basically a free-for-all. You are now trespassing on someone else's personal property. And so let's say someone runs onto the ramp of your freelancer. As soon as they get within that freelancer environment, you can just pull a gun, shoot them, push them back down the ramp, and go on about your business. To me, that is how you solve that problem. And that right there, that is a legitimate form of griefing, because you will hold that advantage over that other player. If they try to defend their ship, they got to fly out of an armistice zone. You know where they are, and you can be standing there waiting for them with a gun. You can shoot them in the pilot seat. You can shoot them as soon as they get out of it. You hold every advantage. You hold that player hostage. And there's nothing they can do about it if you're just sitting there waiting on a landing pad for the next sap to pull their ship out so that you can run onto it and just make their day miserable. That's legitimate griefing. And that, honestly, that is how I would resolve that problem. And that's a rule that I would implement almost immediately. I would just say, yep, from now on, you step onto someone else's ship, your life is in their hands, and you've got no way to answer back to that. None. You can't pull a weapon out, but they can. Tough luck. You signed your own death warrant by doing that. That is legitimate griefing. That's how you deal with it. That's how you fix it. you have to understand that when you go to a place like Jumptown, when you go to an unregulated landing area or something like that, when you go to an area that you know is dangerous, you are agreeing to take that risk on. You know, Jumptown isn't on the map. You have to go find it. You know, you may not like the outcome. You know, you might be one of those people who feels gambling is always okay, is just as long as I'm winning. But as soon as I'm losing, it should be against the rules. And there are people out there like that. We know that there are people like that. The rules are fine so long as they work for me, but as soon as the rules don't work for me, then everything needs to change. We know how those people are. But once again, you have now engaged with that risk. You have now willingly said, I am going to go and I am going to take this chance. But a player who doesn't even give you that chance, a player who exploits a loophole within the game's rules to prevent you from being able to play the game in the first place, which is like trespassing on someone's ship at a landing site where they have no way to defend themselves. And it's a big problem with a lot of ships. A lot of these ships use very large ramps or elevators which anybody can walk onto. Anybody can just walk on and just stand there and say, take me on your ship. And it's like, no. And you have no way to force them off. None. That is legitimate griefing, because you have no recourse. You have no way to defend yourself at that point. Going down to Jumptown, you have a choice. You can choose to or choose not to. But, this, when someone walks onto your ship at a landing site and you have no way to get rid of them, that's actually legitimate griefing. Anyways, that's the video for today. Gonna take a short break for Christmas. Hope you don't mind. See you soon. Oh, and by the way, the Ravager double barrel shotgun, hit the C key so you can get the 2 shots at once. Great way to deal with boarders. Really, really good. Merry Christmas.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.